Hey guys, welcome back to Tales of a Blonde and Brunette. I'm Abby,
And I'm Cassidy.
and today we have a really exciting episode. We have actually partnered with Qatch, an interactive shopping experience via text that allows a user's preferences to control the products that they see next, creating a single personalization point from dozens of different brands.
Today we have with us Raquel Phillips, the Chief Operating Officer of Qatch.
So, Raquel, welcome to the podcast. If you could give us some background about yourself and the company, we'd love to hear it.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and be a guest on your podcast. Some background on myself. So, I am 25 years old. I grew up in Orange County, New York. Um, there is an Orange County, New York, before anyone asks that. We are not the OCLA, but that's okay. I After growing up in New York, I went to Babson College for my undergraduate and master's degree. I got a master's in accounting there. Babson is a small business school right outside of Boston, and they're a great business school. They're well known for their entrepreneurship. But instead of going down the entrepreneurship and business route right after school, I actually moved back to New York and worked in public accounting in New York City, which is vastly different from what I'm doing now, starting my own business, Qatch. But I loved numbers, I loved accounting, so I worked in public accounting for about 2 years before quitting the corporate world, trading in my 9 to 5 for honestly now it's like a 9 to 11 p.m. because running your own business takes a lot of time and a lot of work. But best decision I've ever made. I left my corporate job, started Catch alongside my sister Nicole. She's a couple years older than me, and we banded together and started Catch. And Catch, little high level overview, is a personal shopping experience via text message. So super simple. You sign up, answer a couple questions about your style preferences, price points you're comfortable spending, um, brands you love to shop at, and then we send you product recommendations right to your phone. And you're able to interact with each product, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that way we learn your style and your recommendations will be even better the next time you get your next batch of recommendations.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So today for our episode, the layout is going to be a little different than what we've done before. So first it'll be an interview with Raquel about female entrepreneurship, herself, and the company. And then at the end, we have a little fun kind of segment with a game.
Sounds
And
great.
first, we're going to start with the interview. So our first question for Raquel is, so what was the original idea behind Catch?
Great question. A lot of people ask how an accountant ended up starting a fashion tech company, so very valid. Um, Basically, my sister and I were both working in New York City. She was a lawyer, I was an accountant, so we had great paying jobs. We loved to shop, we loved to, dress up and wear nice clothes, but we found that although we had a disposable income and loved to shop, we weren't actually buying clothes that often. Reason being, between our professional careers and our active social lives, we really didn't have time to sift through the hundreds of brands that you can shop online, and at every website they could carry thousands of products. So we found ourselves as 25 and 27-year-olds sharing clothes like we used to when growing up. And we realized, there's a problem here. Why is this happening? Why is online shopping such a pain in the butt when it should be like a fun experience that people love? So we looked at, the options out there for personalized shopping, like Stitch Fix, all those subscription boxes, but we didn't really like the hassle of receiving boxes and then having to return what you didn't like. And personal shoppers are just astronomically expensive and no one wants to pay like $150 an hour for a personal shopper or a personal stylist. So we kind of came together because we were facing this issue ourselves, living through it ourselves, and we craved a better online shopping experience. And that's kind of how the idea for Qatch came about.
That's actually really cool. Like that you guys decided to create such an like a very useful and like technologically advanced company like that.
Yeah, thank you. We
So,
honestly made it because
what
we needed it ourselves. So
yeah. So, what kind of character traits do you think that young girls would need to have in order to achieve a successful business such as Catch?
that is a very great question. I think the most important traits that you need to have to start your own business and be successful are definitely drive and determination. Things won't happen overnight, and things are going to be really hard and probably get worse before they get better, if that makes sense. So you definitely have to have the drive and the persistence to keep going with it even when things are kind of tough. So that's definitely one of them. And I would say also just being passionate about whatever it is you're starting. So whether it's like a podcast or if you want to start a business that will become your career, you definitely need to be passionate about it because I feel like the one thing that really differentiates going down a path of entrepreneurship and being your own boss versus a corporate career is that passion. You know, my job before this was great. I was good at it. I made good money, but I just wasn't in love with what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was really making an impact. But now that
Yeah.
Hatch, I can see like the end goal of what I want to achieve, and I'm just passionate about creating this better experience because, I've lived through the awful days of online shopping, and I can see that there's a lot of innovation happening in this space, and I'm just really excited to be part of that.
I think that's great advice, and that's super cool that you decided to take a path that you were much more passionate about.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, and I feel like a lot of people get stuck in the rut of, it's comfort versus passion. Obviously, a 9 to 5 career is much more safe and comfortable, but I feel like once you take that leap of faith and you experience the passionate side, it you can never go back. At least that's my experience with it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, I think. And that, again, is really great advice. So you kind of went into this, but what was your professional background before establishing Catch?
Yeah, so prior to Catch, I mean, I'm a sort of recent college graduate, so I've been out of school. Well, I graduated in 2017. So my professional career right after Catch was I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers in New York City. They're one of the top public accounting firms in the country. I did IT and business process auditing for them, which sounds super boring, and it honestly was super boring. Um, it was like it's a very well known firm. It was a great place to start my career. I learned a lot about just my professional self, and I gained a lot of valuable professional skills that will last me throughout my whole career. So it was definitely a good starting point. Um, and I feel like I don't know, I feel like the jump right out of college straight into entrepreneurship, a lot of people do that and kudos to them, but I feel like I almost needed that time in the corporate world to just like get a foothold into adulthood because adulthood is just like after college, you have no idea what the heck you're doing in life. So having the structure of a 9 to 5 corporate job, I think was kind of nice in giving me that stepping stone into adulthood. But I'm glad that I realized quick enough that that wasn't what I wanted to be doing forever. So I'm glad I made
Yeah.
the leap with when I did, which was pretty soon after. It was only about 2 years after I graduated college.
That's crazy.
It is. It really is.
So, how would you define success?
Ooh, I feel like success is, it can be defined very differently depending on who you're talking to. I feel like it means something different to everyone. But I would say how I define success is if I can say that I tried my best or gave it my all and I can feel confident in the effort that I put in, I would be happy and I would say I measure that as success. Which I feel like it's honestly hard to do that, especially when you are running your own business and you are your own boss. There's no bar or there's no ceiling of where you set your expectations. You can set them for yourself really high, like too high that you're like too hard on yourself. Um it's tricky, but I think that's where, the trait of having drive and persistence comes in because you have to have a really good stamina. You have to hold yourself accountable in a lot of things, which, in the corporate world, sure, you have to do that too, but also there's a switch that you can turn off at the end of your workday, and then you're not at work anymore. When you are your own boss and you run your own business, there's kind of no turning that off. So it's like a tricky thing to manage, tricky thing to handle, but I think at the end of the day, if I can say I feel like I gave it my all and I can say that I'm proud of the work that I put in, even if maybe I didn't yield the results that I would have wanted. I think that I would say that was a successful day.
I think that's a really good point. So what is it like to work so closely with your sister after growing up together?
Good question. We get this one a lot. A lot of people, if they ask what it's like working with my sister, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's really great, they give me a look and they're like, but what is it really like working with your sister? And I will say, is actually it's great. I mean, there's obviously pros and cons to it, but the pros outweigh the cons by a long shot. I think the best part is we're just super comfortable with each other, and there's built-in trust there. With a business partner, people joke around and say it's like you're getting married to them because you're going to dedicate the next 10, 20 years of your life with this person, and it's absolutely true. And you do have to have full trust in them because when you have a business partner, typically they will own, their half of the business and they'll make those decisions and you'll own your parts of the business. So you really have to trust that all the decisions that they make, they're going to make the right ones for the business. And I feel like in a professional relationship that isn't with your sister or best friend, it would take some time to get to that level of trust. Or at least you would have to know them for a couple years before going into business with them. But with Nicole and I, it was, obviously I've grown up with her for 25 years, so that trust was already built in. So we didn't really have to do anything on that front from the time when we decided, oh, we have this business idea, let's think about it. We kind of just jumped right in after that and didn't really give it a second thought. I think one of the hardest parts of working with my sister is it's hard to turn off like that professional relationship and like draw the line between the professional and the personal relationship. So like prior to Qatch, we would hang out all the time and talk about anything from, boys to like silly things like movies. Now, like 99.5% of the time, we're talking about Qatch, and sometimes we forget that we're also sisters and we can also have a personal relationship that's not relating to business. So I think that's just like the trickiest part is sometimes taking a step back and just being sisters for a second rather than being business partners.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that you guys were so close and that you guys get along so well that it just worked out perfectly in a sense, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I also hear from a lot of people that they could never ever work with their siblings because they like fight constantly, which I mean, we obviously get into our sibling tiffs, but yeah, we definitely have a really great relationship and that has held strong through starting the business. So, definitely thankful for that.
Yeah, that's super awesome. So, would you say that people in the professional world treat you both differently because you're females?
Oh, yes. Um absolutely. There's I don't think a lot of people do it on purpose, but there is so much research and we have experienced a lot of this firsthand just about gender biases where people will, one example is when people are asking questions if we're like pitching to an investor or something, people typically, when there's a male pitching, they will ask positive questions. But when they're asking females questions, they like turn it into a negative rather than like phrasing it positively. And that, at the start of just this whole journey, I knew that female entrepreneurs, they're like a minority and they don't get a lot of venture capital funding, but I didn't really think too much into it. But once I entered this world, yeah, it's definitely there's a bias there. Um, I don't think it's again, I don't think it's intentional for a lot of people, but just because I've read up a lot about it, I've done a lot of research on these biases. I'm just more aware of it, even when it's small things like them asking a negative phrased question as opposed to like an opportunistic question. Um, but I think, you know, everyone is very aware of the gap that's happening. There's a lot of great, whether they're funds or just resources out there specifically to help female entrepreneurs. Um, One of these actually was an accelerator program that Nicole and I were part of this past fall. It was called the WIN Lab, the Women Innovating Now Lab, and we took a lot of workshops through that accelerator program that kind of helped you navigate life and all of these experiences as a female entrepreneur. So I feel like, everyone's aware of it. Everyone knows that female entrepreneurs don't get funded as often. So I'm glad that there's at least awareness and people are taking strides to kind of combat that and provide resources to female entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's really sad that that's something that women have to deal with in the workplace, but it's great what you guys are doing and how you guys are handling. I think that's really inspirational.
Yeah, thank you.
So how has being a founder of Catch affected your life?
How hasn't it affected my life, really? um, I mean, I think the biggest and most obvious one is just, I traded in a comfortable 9 to 5 work schedule for now my whole life is basically running this business, and this business has to be my top priority in order for it to really take off. And that's just the way it is. I feel like for the first couple of years of starting a business until it really gains traction and takes off. Um, so yeah, I think, when I first made the jump, I, forfeited my really nice apartment in New York City and that income. I moved back with my parents for a couple months, which 2 years out of college, I like it was really hard seeing all my friends like still in their nice apartments and going out, and I was back home with mom and dad. I love them, but didn't want to be there with them. And instead of going out, I was, running the business, having calls with my sister, brainstorming ideas for that. So it was, I feel like that was definitely a really big change. I'm somewhat back to more of a normal lifestyle in the sense of I'm now living in Boston. I have my own apartment, so I have my freedom in that sense. Um, but still, I think, in your early 20s, a lot of people, I don't think they have like a strong priority that's a responsibility like this. These are carefree years where you're out having fun and dating and whatnot. But for me, my top priority is obviously the business. So there's not as much of the carefree fun stuff. Um, so I think that's probably just the biggest thing that it's affected for me, but wouldn't change it for anything. I knew what I was quote unquote giving up, I guess, in the sense of like that carefree lifestyle when I decided to take the leap, but I'm so much happier with what I'm doing now that I would make the same decision 100 times.
Yeah, I would say that is a really big change. But even though you might be missing out on some opportunities being in your 20s, like in the end, it will definitely all be worth it.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, but no, just
Yeah,
even if it doesn't, even if we don't make it big, the experience will definitely be worth it. So,
exactly. Yeah. And you followed a path that you were more passionate about, which is all that matters.
yeah, definitely.
So, to end our interview portion of this episode, we thought we'd end on kind of a lighter note.
Great.
So, what would you say your favorite thing about working on Catch is?
Favorite thing about working on Catch? I feel like this is the like a roundabout answer to that, but my favorite thing about working on Catch is that I get to work on so many different things, if that makes sense. As like an entrepreneur, especially in the early stages when you don't have money to hire a ton of people, you have to wear like every hat in the business. So from the start, I've been working on things like sales and marketing and social media and tech development, like things that I would never think that I would ever experience in my life. And it was so refreshing going from an accounting job where I basically did one thing all day, every day, and it was the same. Whereas now I kind of have a hand in every single part of the business, and I'm just learning so much and realizing how bad I am at a lot of it, but that's fine. At least I'm experiencing it and realizing
Yeah.
hire and help me with it. But it's just a lot of fun and it's so unpredictable, which is really scary sometimes. Like where the business is today is vastly different from where we were even a month ago. But that's like the fun and exciting part of it.
Yeah, I'd say that's really awesome that you and your sister have such a good time running this company and just that you guys get along and make decisions well together and everything, and that you've just created such a unique platform for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's a good time.
All right, so to finish off this episode, we thought that we'd play a fun little game called Trends of the Decades Fab or Fail Edition. So
Love it.
we are starting with the 1950s and ending with 2020.
Great.
And we're going to bring up one popular trend from each decade. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on if you'd consider it a fab or a fail.
Sounds great. I love this.
Okay, cool.
So the first one from the 50s is capri pants.
Capri pants, I would have to say, are a fail. I think,
I would have to agree.
Yeah,
yeah,
me
it's
too.
like shorts or long pants. The capris, there's so many awkward lengths in the middle there. I just like leave them be, leave them in the 50s.
All right, so for the 1960s, we have the beehive hairstyle.
I'm not even sure I know what this is, but if it is what I think it is, I'm gonna say fail. Is this like the like where it looks like they well, I'm guessing it's like when they have like a beehive on their head, like the
Yeah, it's just like a big like poof sort of
yeah,
thing.
that's gonna
Lots of
be a no
hairspray
from
involved.
me.
Yeah,
I
I
know
agree. I
some
say
people
that
can
was a
probably
trend back then.
yeah, like they looked great back then with it, but oh man, if I tried to do that right now, nope. No, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And for the 70s, we have jumpsuits.
Fab. I love jumpsuits. They're so great
Definitely agree.
when you have to like use the bathroom and like take your whole thing off, but great everywhere else.
Yeah, that's really fair.
Yeah,
I feel like they're super cute because you could dress them up or you could like super dress them down.
absolutely. And they're super comfortable. And best thing, if I don't have to think about like a top and a bottom to wear, like matching, ugh, such a pain in the butt. Like, yes, just give me one thing.
Yeah, that's super
I
true.
love dresses so much too. Just a lot easier.
All right, so the 1980s, we have high-waisted jeans.
Fab. Oh man, I will never go back to low-waisted jeans.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah,
High-waisted.
same here. Low-waisted jeans are not good.
No, no, they're not.
They're so unflattering and you just have to pull them up all the time.
They really are. I don't know how I ever did it in, I don't even know, middle school? Was middle school like the time for me? I think it was. Yeah, never going back for sure.
Yeah. So for the 1990s, we have chokers.
I love chokers, so I'm gonna say fab. I know they like got really popular a couple years ago, and I feel like they've kind of died down a bit, but I'm still a fan, so I'm gonna say fab.
Yeah, me too. I think they just add, like, it's not too much, but it's just enough.
Yeah, and
I l-
there's like a lot of really cool new like types of choker necklaces. Like I feel like it used to be like in the 90s, it was just that one type of like that elastic choker that everyone wore,
yeah,
but now there's like so many cool ones. So I'm gonna say
I love the ones that are like really dainty and like they have like cute
yeah,
little things like that. I think
yeah,
those are cute.
love those.
All right, so on to the early 2000s, we have velour tracksuits.
Oh man, I'm gonna say fail, just because it
Yeah,
brings me back to like I don't know, like the mom in Mean Girls, like wearing that pink tracksuit and like it's just like just yeah, no, it's a no from me.
It just like freakishly reminds me of Juicy Couture.
Absolutely. Oh man.
Yeah, with like all the ladies wearing them that said like juicy on their butt.
Yeah, I feel like there's much cuter like loungewear or athleisure these days, so I'm gonna say yeah, those can stay in the early 2000s.
agreed. So for the 2010s, we have bangs.
Are these like side bangs or like normal bangs?
Just normal, like fringe.
Hmm. I kind of am gonna say fab. I think, well, okay, there's a caveat. If you can pull it off, fab. Like I couldn't
That
pull
is
it off.
true.
So
Yeah.
for me it would be a fail, but I do I do love like some people rock it and I honestly wish that I could, but I know that I can't. So kudos to you if you
I think a lot of people made it work during quarantine.
oh my gosh, yeah, I've seen a lot of people cutting their own bangs on like TikTok. It's frightening, but
Yeah.
good for those
It
people
gets a
who
little intense sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, good for them. I'm gonna
They always regret it.
yeah, I feel like they usually do. This actually reminds me of my mom tried to cut her own bangs once and she like ended up with like the baby bangs. It wasn't good. But that's my mom. Yeah, so not good. I will not be cutting my own bangs ever.
So our last one is the current time, so 2020, oversized t-shirts.
So fabulous. All I wear
Yeah.
is oversized t-shirts and like oversized hoodies. I mean,
Yes,
It's not to live
especially the
without them.
hoodies.
They're so comfortable. Love it.
All right, so is there anything else that you want to add or ask us maybe?
I don't think so. This was very lovely. I'd love for your listeners to check out Catch. They can find us on Instagram at JoinCatch, or our website is joincatch.com. Yeah.
We'll have that linked below too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'd love for people to just try out the service and let me know what they think.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. We had so much fun with you on our podcast with us.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so great talking with you girls.
Yes, thank you so much. And of course, don't forget to check out Qatch. We'll have the social medias linked below. And make sure you guys follow us, subscribe, as always. We'll have our social medias on the screen now as well. And make sure you turn the post notifications on. And that's all we got for today, guys.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.